Hey guys, so welcome back to Garam Girl Summer. Today we're gonna have Dr. Azra Bhimani, and she's going to show us some healthy and easy and fun recipes for summer. And so I'm just gonna wait for her and see when she joins, and yeah. So we're gonna do a little cook with us today. One second. Okay, she's here. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Azra Bhimani. I am a physician by training. I'm currently a fellow in infectious diseases. I finished my internal medicine residency a few years ago. And I recently have discovered kind of my love for cooking and healthy cooking and self-love and care. And so I'm super excited to share with you guys today.
We're so glad to have you on board with us today.
Yeah, it's we're gonna make chicken Kati roll lettuce wraps and healthy watermelon shake. Um, the Kati roll idea actually came from my husband. So we used to have
Mm-hmm.
our Kati rolls in paratha, of course. Um, and then, we have recently started to kind of try to make some adjustments in our diet. We've been trying to cut out like processed greens as much as we
Mm-hmm.
can. And so we thought, let's try it instead of making it with a paratha. Let's try it with a lettuce wrap.
Yeah.
And it actually turned out really good. So we figured,
Yeah,
you
I think it just
know,
gives you more greens too without making a lot of adjustment. Like you can have more greens in your diet, which is like amazing.
exactly. So, and that's the whole idea, right? It's, when
Mm-hmm.
you try to make changes in your diet very abruptly, where you go from eating kind of a standard Desi diet into just cutting everything out and trying to stick to salads all the time, it's just not possible. If you're
Yeah.
a Desi food lover like I am, it's very hard to go from, eating Desi food every day to, um, just trying to eat salads. It doesn't like
Yeah.
fit with the palate. So then trying to make small changes and trying to make changes to the food that you do enjoy, like you said, to increase the amount of greens you take or increase the
Yeah.
vegetable, consumption is kind of the way to make it sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. I think to make something sustainable, you have to do something that you really enjoy. You can't just be drinking green smoothies all day. You're not going to enjoy that. I mean, unless you actually do like them, that's a different thing. But if you don't really enjoy something that you're eating, then you're not going to be able to do it for the rest of your life. And it's not like a diet, it's like what you're supposed to do for the rest of your life. It's a lifestyle change.
Exactly. And that's why, I've been on every diet in the book. And
Mm,
I feel like, the results have always been, yeah, I'll lose the weight and then gain it right back because I just can't sustain that kind of eating, right? Because we're made to
exactly.
enjoy the food that we eat. We can't just, eat things that we don't like because we're ultimately your brain's going to take over and it's going to tell your body, like, I don't like that and I'm not going to eat that. And so, exactly like you said, making small changes, making changes that are sustainable is kind of what's best because then it's something that you can maintain throughout your life.
Yeah, exactly. It's like adding a little bit more movement instead of like going to the gym and lifting for 60 minutes if it's not what you enjoy. You can just start by adding like a 20-minute walk in your day.
Exactly. And, I'm a very, very strong proponent of just getting some movement into the day,
Hmm.
especially, people with super busy careers, people who, even, moms who are at home, like, it's, people who are working from home. It's just so busy. Our days are filled with work. And sometimes, at the end of the workday, you just don't feel like doing a formal workout or
Yeah,
going to the gym or like getting on, and like doing like a high intensity workout. But I mean, you could,
definitely.
exactly like you said, take the stairs or go for a quick 20-minute walk or, just anything to incorporate a little bit more movement into the day.
Yeah, because I think you owe that to your body. Like you owe that to yourself. It's like I was having a conversation with one of my friends the other day. I was like, no matter how much you weigh, it doesn't define your health. Your health is not defined by how much you weigh. You can be the skinniest person in the world and not be healthy.
You are so
And
right. We've seen so many patients. I've seen so many patients that are in the hospital, and we can't go off of their weight because there's thin, patients, marathon runners that have heart attacks in their 40s and 50s. And then there's, patients that are overweight and they come into my office and their numbers are beautiful. And they live a very healthy lifestyle. So you cannot go off of your weight. And I just posted about this yesterday, that weight is not a good surrogate marker for your inner health. And really what we have to go off of is how we feel, how, our insides are doing, how our mental health is doing, because ultimately
mhm.
all of that is connected.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so should we get started?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I kind of marinated my chicken already. Well, half
Mm-hmm.
of my chicken, but I'm going to marinate the other half with you guys. So
I'm only gonna be able to make the watermelon shake with you because I forgot to thaw my chicken,
that's
unfortunately.
That's totally okay. So I'm going to go ahead and marinate the chicken first so it can sit for a
Okay.
little bit and then we can kind of put all the chicken in together.
Okay.
So I usually like to use dark meat chicken, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like dark meat chicken has gotten kind of a bad rep because in the past few years, there's always this comparison between white meat chicken and dark meat chicken. And when you look at macronutrient wise, the truth
Mm-hmm.
is that dark meat chicken does have more fat. And it does kind of, have more calories than the white meat part of the
Yeah.
chicken. But that being said, if you break down the amount of like the fat into the different kinds of fat, the saturated fat content, the fat that's like not the best for you, is actually minimally increased in dark meat.
Yeah.
And the unsaturated fat, the fat that's actually good for your body, is what actually makes up a large proportion of that fat. So,
Oh.
dark meat, I will say, is not that much worse for you than white meat chicken. And the good thing about dark meat is that it has almost double the iron, double the zinc, and double the B vitamins that white meat does. So when you think about it from
Oh.
a micronutrient perspective, dark meat chicken is actually not bad for you. It's actually better for you than white meat chicken.
I
So
actually didn't know that.
yeah, and I actually personally like the taste of dark meat chicken better. So
Yeah.
so we have some dark meat chicken. I
Okay.
cut it up into small pieces, bone out, just boneless. I usually use about 1 pound of
Mm-hmm.
chicken. And then in the chicken, I add some non fat yogurt. So for
Okay.
the 1 pound of chicken, I'll use about half a cup of non fat yogurt. So I'll go ahead and put that in. And then I like to put, so I do cheat a little bit and I do use shan masala because
I
I
mean,
don't
you
have
have to
time.
put it.
I
You
don't got
have
time.
to put it.
So we just use a little bit because there's a lot of salt in shan masala, right? So
Okay.
you don't want to do too much and you don't want to overdo it. But
Mm-hmm.
whenever I use shan masala, I don't add my own salt in there because it's more than
Okay.
enough because there's so much sodium in this. So I use
Mm-hmm.
the tikka seek masala for this one, and
Okay.
about like 2 tablespoons for the
Okay.
1 pound. So I put that in.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this recipe on my own soon and I'm gonna send you a picture.
Yes, please. It's actually super easy. And then I like to put a little bit of cumin and coriander powder, about
Okay.
half a teaspoon of turmeric, and then half a teaspoon of paprika. Um, if you like a lot of spice, then you can switch out the paprika for red chili powder. But I
Okay.
recently have tried not to have too much spice because it irritates my stomach, and so I'm getting old now, so I can't handle the spice that I
No,
used to.
I know what you mean. That happens to me, but then I'm also like, I love spicy food. I have to
I
have it.
I know my mouth loves the spicy food, but then my stomach doesn't love the spicy food. So now
I
I just
remember there was this time I used to eat hot Cheetos like every day, but then my stomach was like, no, you cannot do this. So I stopped completely and I haven't had any hot chips for like a year almost.
oh my
I've been
God.
craving them, but I can't have them.
Dude, I remember in college, all I would have would be like hot Cheetos. But I feel like as I've gotten older and now I kind of have a family of my own, I've been striving, especially in the last few months, to make changes because I don't want my child growing up with the same kind of eating habits I grew
Yeah.
up with. I think when you instill those kind of habits young, when when they're babies and they don't know any other way of eating, I think that's like the best way to do it. Because then that's, what they grow up knowing. And I grew up knowing, I ate a lot of home cooked food and a lot of home cooked
Hmm.
healthy food, but I also grew up eating a lot of junk food. And,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And so I think minimizing that now, although, with kids, they like to do what they like to do, but trying our best
Yeah.
to minimize that as much as possible. Okay, and then the last thing I put in is a little bit of chaat masala. It gives it like a little bit of a zippy flavor, which I really like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, and I use about quarter teaspoon to a half teaspoon of that. So once kind of all of that stuff is in the bowl, you just mix everything up. And I'm gonna grab a spoon and you just let it sit and you let it marinate. The longer you let it marinate, the better, right? Because, with any meat, the longer you marinate, the taste is better.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I marinated some chicken yesterday. And then we can let this one sit for a little bit too. I'll probably just
How
cook
long do you
it.
normally let it marinate for?
So most of the time I forget that I'm gonna cook and then I remember. And so I try to do like a few hours, but I think anything
Okay.
like about a half hour or so I think is enough. And
Okay, a
the
half hour is good.
yeah, a half hour is
I have
good.
no patience. I have no patience. When I want to cook, I'm like, I want to do it now.
And I want to eat it. Um, Yeah, I have this problem where I just kind of forget about things and then I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh wait, I should probably get this going. So I think a half hour is good.
Yeah.
I've done it where I like have not even let it marinate and I just like put it all in as soon as I mix it and it tastes
Hmm.
really good too. But I think when you marinate it, it tastes a little bit better. Okay, so we'll let that sit and in the meantime we can make the watermelon shake.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
go get my blender.
Okay. Somebody commented on the live saying small sustainable changes are the way to go versus an all or nothing mentality. I think that is so true.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think oftentimes we kind of put this, it's a very all or nothing mentality, I think, generally. And I think we put ourselves through all this unnecessary stress where we tell ourselves, like, either we do this perfectly or we fail. And our standards are so high for ourselves that we often kind of just feel like, oh my God, I was so good and good being like you stuck to whatever whatever goal you set out for yourself. And then the second you ate something that you feel like you shouldn't have, or you kind of cheated, which I'm putting that in
Hmm.
quotations because I don't think that that's cheating. You suddenly are like, all right, I'm done. I messed up. So now I'm going to go and eat whatever I want and just like, go the other way. And I think that that's number one, putting so much stress on yourself because emotionally and mentally, I think when we think like that, I think it puts so much mental stress on our heads and we feel bad for not sticking to something. We feel bad for, you know, um, just I guess cheating, and we feel bad that we kind of ate the stuff
Definitely.
that we ate. And so I think small changes is the way to be, but I think the way to get there is that you have to be okay with, letting yourself, if you're craving something once in a while, that's okay. You had a few bites of something once in a while, that's okay. But majority of the time you're doing well and that's all that matters.
Exactly. I think food should never be labeled as good or bad. It should just be labeled as food because it's like calories are just giving you energy. You
Exactly.
don't need to count your calories to live a healthy lifestyle. You just need to incorporate every food group. Like, I have so many problems with like diets like keto because it's like you're removing a food group. you're removing a major source of energy, and that's not good for you, you know?
Exactly. Every macronutrient has a place in your body. So, cutting things out completely, it's just not good. Carbohydrates, your body needs carbohydrates. Too much of anything
Mm-hmm.
is also not good, but fat, your body needs fat. Even, mostly the unsaturated fat, but there is a role for the other fat too. Definitely not trans fat. Trans fat is not good. But
Yeah.
your body needs a little bit of everything, and it's okay to have that once in a while, and just try to aim for a balance as much as you can. And I think recently I've shifted my focus away from calories, like you said, and I've stopped counting calories, and I've really shifted my focus to what I eat instead of how much I eat, because I know that when I'm eating food that is high in nutrient density, high in vitamins, high in minerals and antioxidants, I don't feel guilty for eating that food. And I can eat as much as I want until I'm full.
Yeah, I think it's like you need to, like I think like diets that like basically make you restrict are bad in the sense because like you're gonna basically gain all the weight you lose back because you're not eating what you actually like. You're not gonna be able to sustain it. And also it's like, some diets have like where you're cutting out fruit as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is so weird because fruit's like natural sugar and you need that in your life.
Exactly. I always say, there's a few different kinds of foods. There's foods that feed your mind. So those are the foods that make you feel happy after you eat them. And that can go on a spectrum of, processed sugar foods and you know, foods that are high in saturated fats, versus foods that nourish your body. And those are the foods that have high levels of antioxidants, your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your lentils, foods like that, your whole grains. And so, those are kind of the foods that you want to create food that will make your mind happy and make you feel happy, but you also want to eat the same food to nourish your body. And so that's kind of the whole point of all this, is to
Hmm.
make no make small changes to kind of the food that we eat and we enjoy, so that it's a little bit better for you.
There's a question for you. Let me see
Yeah.
if I can post it on here. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes. Okay. So the question is, what are your thoughts on plant-based diets, and are those sustainable? Okay. So I Okay, so plant-based diets are, I think, generally, when you look at the evidence and the data,
Hmm.
the evidence is that people who are on plant-based diets, complete plant-based diets, or like vegan, are have healthier markers than people who are on like the standard American diet. And that's the hard truth. That is the truth, because people who are on plant-based diets, they eat a lot more fruits and vegetables. Sure, they may still eat processed foods, but a bulk of their intake comes from things that are plant-based, right? And plants
Hmm.
by nature have a lot of goodness to give your body.
Yeah.
And so naturally those people do better, in terms of their overall health. Their risk
Hmm.
of heart attacks is lower, their cholesterol levels are lower. Now, that being said, I personally, speaking from experience, um, I have up to now have not been able to completely cut out meat. So that's a
Okay.
personal thing, right? I love eating chicken and red meat, very rarely now, but I do still have some chicken, because for me, it's not sustainable. I
Okay.
would hate to put myself into a strict diet, and this is exactly what we've been talking about, right? Like, when you kind
Hmm.
of restrict yourself so much and say, like, no, you can't eat meat, you can't eat chicken, you can't eat beef, you can't eat anything like that, you have to do this, then for you, and then you decide, like, okay, I really want some chicken, then your mind's going to be like, oh my god, I feel guilty, why did I do that, I messed up.
Yeah.
So I think setting expectations for yourself and just being very honest with yourself from the get-go, saying, you know what, yes, I want to increase my fruit intake, I want to increase my vegetable intake, I want to increase my nutrient intake,
Hmm.
but no, I can't completely cut out meat, or I can't completely
Yeah.
cut out chicken, or whatever. I think being honest with yourself in that way is probably the best thing you can do. And once you kind of identify, what you completely can't cut out, or what you can reduce a lot of, then I think
Mm-hmm.
striving to eat the things that are better for you, eat the foods that bring you more nutrients, should be the goal. So I
Yeah.
think instead of becoming like plant-based, you should just become a nutritarian. I don't know if you've ever heard the term, but it's pretty much someone who strives to eat as much food that'll bring them as much nutrition as possible.
Oh, okay.
And I'm definitely striving to become that. I'm not perfect, and nobody's perfect. Nobody can,
Yeah, definitely.
be 100% all the time, but I think it's a personal thing, and
Yeah.
everyone's kind of sustainability for these kinds of diets is different, and
I
that's
think it's
okay.
like everyone needs to work on that every day because nobody is going to be perfect because if you're perfect, then there's no progress.
Exactly. You're not growing, you're not changing, you're not kind of becoming better. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, just it's a good thing to do, is to have that kind of discussion with yourself. Like, what am I willing to, cut down on, and what am I willing to not cut down on? And for me, I actually am dairy free. I don't no more. Like, I have been dairy free for about like 2 months now, because that's something that for me is just not worth it. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care for dairy that much that I need it in my life. Some people do, and that's fine. And then we can kind of work other ways around it. But for me, I don't care. So just like you had the Chobani oat milk, that's exactly the same
Right
one I
over
use.
here.
Exactly the same one I use. I love oat milk, and I am a fan. So
Same.
that's something that I'm happy to cut out. I cut out processed sugars because, to me, like, there's no nutritional value in
Yeah.
food, and so to me, I'm okay cutting that out. And luckily for me, I've also found replacements. So if I have a sweet tooth, I can make something, quickly that'll
Mm.
satisfy that I'll feel good about eating. So I think it's a conversation to have, definitely, with yourself.
You mentioned that you quit dairy. Like, what are some changes that you've seen that, like, since quitting dairy?
So since quitting dairy, I have noticed that my bloating has decreased significantly. Like, after I'd have a dairy meal, my stomach would just not feel the best. I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
not lactose intolerant, so that was never a problem for me, but I just felt very heavy and
Yeah.
uncomfortable after I would have dairy. I feel very sleepy, like I would just not be, but it just felt like my body wasn't able to really digest the dairy. I feel
Yeah.
foggy, and it's just like I would want to take a nap. But after I cut it out, honestly, I feel a lot lighter. The bloating has gone down. I don't feel so sleepy, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. It's definitely been a happy change, a good change for me. I think everyone's bodies are different, and some people can definitely handle the dairy. So
Yeah.
I think it's a definitely a personal thing.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, shall we? All right.
Yes.
I have 2 cups of watermelon in this blender, and I'm adding half a cup of oat milk, or any plant-based
Okay.
milk.
Half a cup.
Yes, half a cup.
Okay. How much honey do you put?
So I put about 1 tablespoon, but if you like things a little bit sweeter, then I would say probably put like 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of honey. And then I'm gonna grab
Okay.
some ice. So when I was growing up, my mom would make watermelon shake all the time, and I loved watermelon shake growing up. But my mom, of course, made it in the really, really yummy way, where she put ice
Yeah.
cream in it, and she put milk, and she put added sugar. And I've tried very hard to kind of cut a lot of those, like, things out just because I feel like in terms of nutrition, there's really not much in there. And I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're taking something that has a lot of nutrient value, right? Like watermelon is
Yeah.
so nutritious. You're kind of making it into something that's not very healthy at all. And so I wanted to make kind of a shake that I felt good about drinking, and still kind of tasted good. And so I made this watermelon shake a few times, and it turned out to be really, really good and very refreshing. So I figured I would share. I put in about like 6 or 7 ice cubes, to make it like
Okay.
slushy like.
I put in like 2 frozen strawberries
Ooh,
to give it
yum.
like more of a icy thing.
That's probably really good. Okay, and then I'm gonna put the top on. Turn this guy on. All right, we can blend together. Let me know when you're
Okay.
ready.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. So let's try it.
Let me go get the spoon. Oh my god, it's really good.
Really good. Very refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need so much sugar and you don't need so much ice cream. Natural things can be very tasty and they can be very good for you. So this is such a good summer treat.
Oh my god, this is so good. I actually, like, I've never had a watermelon shake before, so I was like, I don't know how this is gonna taste. It's actually really good. Like, I would actually make it every day.
Isn't it so refreshing? It's really, really good. And it doesn't require a lot of sweetener because, you know, watermelon is so sweet, you know, by nature. So
Yeah,
it's
I would honestly, like, next time I would make it even without the honey. Like, it would be fine even without it.
exactly. I think if you have really sweet watermelon to begin with, it's not, you probably
Mm-hmm.
don't need the honey either. Okay. Should we make the chicken?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me just see if there's any comments. My minditude said you just have to focus on small changes at first instead of changing everything all at once. Yes, absolutely. I think when you make small changes and you continue to make small changes, the small changes will be so sustainable that it's something that you can just incorporate into your everyday life.
I'm getting my mom to try it right now because she loves watermelons. How do you feel?
Oh, honest opinion. Honest opinion right
Honest
now.
opinion.
Good. It's really good.
Okay, good. Mom
She was like,
approved.
yeah, mom approves.
Okay, so then it's fine. I feel good.
And she's someone who loves like sugary things, so
Uh-huh.
that's an honest opinion right there.
Well, there we go. Okay, then I feel really good about that. Guys, see, it's mom approved. You don't need to put ice cream or sugar in it. It'll be okay. Um, okay, let's make the chicken and we can keep chatting while I make the chicken.
Yeah,
So I use avocado oil to fry. Um, I like to measure out my oil before I like put it in, just because I
same.
feel like when you dump, you don't know how much is going in, and you
Yeah, and I
kind of
think it
just
gets so oily easily.
And I feel like with Desi food, like people just dump and they like to kind of see the oil, and sometimes it becomes too much, but you really don't need that much oil to make it taste good. And so I usually aim for about 1 to 2 tablespoons, and that's usually more than enough. I
Yeah.
have switched over to avocado oil from canola oil, and really the only reason is that oftentimes canola oil. The canola that they use can most of the time is GMO, and so it's really hard to find non-GMO canola oil. And
Hmm.
with avocado oil, it's a lot easier to find non-GMO avocado oil. Avocado oil also has a higher burning point, and so
Yeah.
um, it won't burn while you're cooking. And with Desi food, we like keep it
Oh,
on the
okay.
stove longer, and so it
Hmm.
actually won't burn as fast as canola oil. And when oil burns, it releases a lot of carcinogens, right? Cancer causing compounds. And so that's what we want to
Oh,
avoid. And
I
so,
did not know that.
yeah. And so that's why, I prefer using avocado oil. And it can go, high heat up to 500 degrees. So it stays
Oh, okay.
stable at high heat for longer periods of time. So I'm going to put just 2 tablespoons of oil in this because really doesn't need that much. And I like to put it on high heat in the beginning just because we're going to fry a little bit of ginger garlic paste. And this paste that my mom made for me, but it's pretty much just a combo of serrano peppers,
Okay.
cilantro, garlic, and a little bit of lemon juice, and she just mixes it all together in a chopper and makes like a paste out of it. And I use
Oh,
it in a
okay.
lot of my cooking, so it's actually really convenient to just like pick up a spoon and just put it in, and it
Yeah.
stays stable in the fridge for a really long time. So I like to start with that. So I'm going to put that into the oil, and I'm going to let that sizzle a little bit. um, okay. All right.
I know you mentioned that you recently got like into cooking, like you really started liking it. How did that happen?
So my family is from Chicago,
Hmm.
and I grew up in Chicago. I was born and raised. I did medical school in Chicago, um, and then I matched at UCLA in Los Angeles for my residency. So I had to move, um, and I of course did not know how to cook anything. But now I am like, I don't know how many miles, how many like hundreds of thousands of miles I'm away from my mom, and so I had to learn how to cook because if I wanted to eat it, unfortunately, my mom wasn't just like, right there to make me whatever I wanted. And
Hmm.
so I actually started cooking pretty early on. Um, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the chicken in. And I started cooking pretty early on. Like when I first moved out, I would try, like, I'd call my mom and I'd be like, can you walk me through this? And of course, like, like all moms, she would be like, "Oh, put a little bit of this and a little bit of this," and I'm just like, "Mom, I'm like a brand new
How
person.
much? How
I
much do
don't,
I put?
I don't know what a little bit is. Like, is that 1 tablespoon? Is that 1 teaspoon? Like, what is a little bit to you?" And so, anyways, like that's kind of how I started, and then I got married, and then we would cook at home. My husband cooks a lot of really good food, and so, but he didn't know how to make Desi food, and so that's again like a
Oh.
was a need that was always there. And so then I started cooking, and I feel like initially when I was cooking, I was using a lot of oil and I was using a lot of like spice, and
Hmm.
I didn't feel really great, and I've
Yeah.
had really bad gastritis and acid reflux for a long time, and so eventually
Same.
yeah, so eventually you have to start changing your diet because the longer you keep it up, the worse it starts getting. And so then last year I got diagnosed with like a gastric ulcer, and I had to
Oh.
completely change my diet, completely. So that's when I started, changing the way I cook to
Hmm.
kind of make things a little bit healthier. And I think like it's been over a year now, and small changes, and we've kind of gotten to where we are today. And I think the beauty of like cooking is that when you make your own meals, you can adjust whatever you want. So if
Yeah,
you want to put less
definitely.
oil, put less oil. If you want to use non-fat yogurt, you can use non-fat yogurt instead of full-fat yogurt. You know, if you want to put less salt because you don't care for salt that much, you can do that. And so that's what I found to be really nice, and that's what I really enjoy about cooking because
Yeah.
it like allows me to really flex my creative muscles. I'm not a very creative person generally, but this
Same.
is this is one place that I can kind of flex my creativity a little bit and you know come up with food that I feel good about eating, and I feel
Yeah.
good eating. Like I feel good after eating.
Yeah. I remember growing up, my grandma used to make these Kati rolls too, like with chicken and everything.
Yeah,
And growing up, I want to learn how to make them.
yeah,
So what I would do basically, I got into this whole like phase of like cooking healthier and going to the gym since like freshman year of high school.
uh huh,
And I was like, I want to do this. And then like so I what I would do is like, you know, those little like low carb tortillas or whatever.
yeah.
I love those. I love eating those. Like they're so good. Like they're so good. I didn't expect
Yeah.
them to be that good, but they're literally a
Wow.
staple.
Yeah, you can't tell that they are low carb.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would get those and a little bit of chicken and then basically make this like special sauce with like a little bit of mayo, hot sauce, and
Yeah,
like sriracha and everything. And I was like, okay, this tastes so good. And it's like without too much oil because honestly, I feel like when there's too much oil, I can't eat it. Like I literally cannot because I will literally just be tasting the oil.
yeah, exactly. That's the problem when you have food with a lot of oil. You have to like really mix it to like get rid of the oil,
Yeah.
but then the oil comes out at top, and you're just kind of like, I don't think it needs that much. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally with you, right? And then it feels good to like, you know,
Yeah.
you made something, you know, for yourself, and I don't know. I think like it's a form of art, to be very honest. That's what I like to think, at least.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
I
so
remember I used to make samosa in the air fryer. And I
yeah,
was like, okay, these are good. These aren't bad.
right? Yeah, I recently learned how to fold my own samosas, and I was like, dang, girl, good job. Okay, so I'm gonna show you. This is what the chicken looks like. It's
Okay.
frying. Um, so we have it on high heat still. And it's just gonna fry, and we're gonna let it fry for a little bit longer. I mean, the reason you don't need so much oil also is because there's a lot of yogurt in it, so it kind of
Mm-hmm.
provides a base to be able
Yeah.
to have it like cook in something. You know, if it was completely dry, then you need a little bit more oil to kind of
Yeah.
provide it with something, or you could put it in the oven if you want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think with this, it's nice because there's a lot of yogurt, and so it can kind of work. All right, so I'm
I
gonna
feel
put
like with
it down.
South Asian families, we use so much oil, like so quick. And I think this is proof that you don't need more than a tablespoon or two.
You really don't. And I feel like methods at home are literally like just dump. And you dump
Yeah.
until it looks right. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, proof enough that you really don't. You really don't need
Yeah.
more than a tablespoon or two. The taste does not come from the oil. The look may come
Yeah.
from the oil, like that sheen and the way that it looks maybe comes from the oil, but the
Mm-hmm.
taste definitely doesn't come from the
It
oil.
really doesn't.
No. Yes. Okay. All right, so this is almost done. I'm gonna let it cook for a little bit longer.
See, I actually like it. I'm still drinking. If I didn't like it, I would have
But
stopped drinking like 5 minutes ago.
you weren't pretending. I mean, I got your mom's seal of approval, so I feel really good about that. And my mom's on right now, and she said,
Oh yes, it's a
"Awesome,
hard
so proud."
comment.
So I got my mom's seal of approval too. So this is good.
Yeah, we both got our mom's seal of approval, so yes, you guys should try this whole watermelon shake. This is gonna be on IGTV, so you can like go back to it and like get the recipe.
Oh my goodness, definitely. Yeah, and so one other thing that I wanted to talk about is just brown women health. I love your guys' platform. I love your
Thank you so
and
much.
and the reason is because women women in general, I feel like we've tried a lot to that's my aunt who's also on.
Oh my God.
um I think we've always tried, and I think we've always historically been made inferior to men. I mean, that's the truth, right? The
Definitely.
inferiority to men has always been there, and eventually, with the work and the
Mhm.
perseverance, and luckily all the rights that women have now kind of obtained. Still, I think there's so much work to be done, but I think in
Yeah.
general, what has happened to women kind of through the centuries is that women have kind of just never learned to make themselves a priority, because then what happens is that
Hmm.
when women make themselves a priority, they hear things like, oh, she's so aggressive, or she's so selfish, or she
She's
like
so
just,
full of herself.
or she's so full of herself, like she just cares about herself, and like um and so I think, and in Desi culture, that is very much the same. I think, you
Definitely,
know,
definitely.
growing up, like, I'm not sure kind of how your family was, but for me, like, I always saw my mom just like taking care of the family, like constantly, like,
Yeah.
cooking and cleaning, and I never saw her like exercise or take care of herself because she just didn't have time, right? Because by the end of the
Yeah.
day, she'd take care of us, she'd cook, she'd clean, she'd take care of the fam, and then the day's over, you know? And so growing up, like, we never saw our mom, like, the main woman role model in your life is your mom, right? And
Yeah.
when you don't see that growing up, it doesn't become a part of you either. And so
Hmm.
I think, what we have to change is that we have to bring these changes from home first, where
Yeah.
we have to learn how to make ourselves a priority before we can go and, tell others to make themselves a priority. And I felt like I
Definitely.
was doing that a lot with my patients. I'd be like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. And then I'd be like, I feel like such a hypocrite because I wasn't doing that myself. And then I realized, like, why do I not change it? And my aunt just commented and said it wasn't acceptable for our times. It was just be there for everyone. And
Exactly.
that's exactly what it was, right? Like, women were never allowed to be independent and be like, no, this is something I want to do for myself. It was always, I have to do this for everybody else.
Even now, it's like if you're working and have a kid, people are like, you have to choose between being a mom and being somebody who's working, which I feel like is so terrible because it's like you shouldn't have to choose between your career and your family because men don't have to do that.
Exactly. Men don't have to do that, right? Men can have a busy career and then they can come home and they can be just fine, and they spend some time with the
Yeah.
kiddos, and it's like, oh, you're such a great dad. But it's like, well, what about mom? Mom works too all day, and then, she feels bad
Hmm.
about coming home late. And I think that's a whole separate topic that I could go on about. But coming from, I'm a physician, so my career is very demanding. And I think, especially during
Yeah.
training, like residency and fellowship, it's a very demanding time in terms of, how much time I spend. And it's funny because when my son was born a few years ago, I actually had a lot of support, but it was more
Hmm.
like inner guilt. Like, it was coming from inside of
Yeah.
me. That criticism was coming from inside of me. Like, oh, you're not a good mom. Like, and, to be very honest, like, nobody said anything to me. But it's so
Yeah.
ingrained in kind of our culture and
Yeah. We're
psyche.
conditioned to think that way. We're conditioned to think that if we're not spending 24 hours with our kid, then we're not being good parents. Which is not true. It's like I feel like you shouldn't have to choose between having a career and like, being a mother. And
Exactly. It shouldn't have to be
yeah.
a choice. We could just do everything, and it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
black or white. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could just be, and I feel like when it is like that, and unfortunately I feel like it's still very ingrained in our psyche, and that's how we've been conditioned, but it really takes a toll on your mental health. And I know so many new moms that have struggled with this a lot because they just feel so much guilt. And
Mhm.
honestly, in our day and age, like, women work, women,
Yeah.
a lot of women work, whether they work from home or not. Like, a lot of women work, and it's something that we
Your
have to
aunt
change.
just commented.
In fact, mom ke liye, they say, what do you do when you sit at home all day? Yeah, and
Yeah.
then there's
They do
that,
say
right?
that.
Is the stay-at-home moms get crap from people because then they're just like, oh, well, you're just sitting at home all day taking care of your kids. Like, you're not really doing anything. And It's just
That's
unacceptable.
so messed up because it's like there's so much to do at home. You like there's so much to do at home because my mom, she got a job when I was 15, like her first job was then,
Yeah.
and she was managing both, like all of the things that she would do at home, like cooking and cleaning and everything, while working like 5, 6 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I find to be so crazy, right? It's just like
Same.
it's interesting because when I was at home for maternity leave, to be very honest, my maternity leave was not that long. I got like 8 weeks, which is way lower than even like
That's it?
the lowest of the US is like 3 months at least. But I got 8 weeks because, whatever, training, and that's a whole nother thing as well. But,
Mm-hmm.
by the end of it, I was so overwhelmed though, because like when you're
Mm-hmm.
at home, it's not easy. Like it's hard being a
Definitely.
stay-at-home mom. It's so hard. Like I did it for 8 weeks and I was like, I was so, by the end of the day, like when my husband would come home from work, I'm like, oh my God, like I just feel so stressed out because
Yeah.
it's very difficult. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very difficult.
Definitely.
It's a different kind of stress than, going into
Yeah.
work. And at the end of my maternity leave, I know it was a short leave, but I was actually happy to go back to work because it was just like something that I couldn't handle. And so many props
Mm-hmm.
to our moms who stayed at home, who raised us, who sacrificed so much,
Yeah.
for us. But I think that's something that needs to change because I think women need to stop
Yeah.
sacrificing.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay, I want to show you guys my chicken because it's ready. Ooh, let's see. There we go. Did it work?
Your camera turned off.
Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. It's back. Okay. All right. So this is what the chicken looks like. And you
Mm-hmm.
want it to be a little bit dry because when you put
Okay.
it in the wrap, you don't want it to be kind of all over the place. And so
Yeah, because the tortilla or whatever, like
it,
naan
it,
or like lettuce, in this case, is
it'll
gonna
get
get soggy
soggy.
really quick.
Exactly. So I have lettuce. Um, I use I like using butter lettuce, and the reason for
Mm-hmm.
that is number one, like it's really nice, like the way it's kind of shaped. It's kind of perfect for lettuce wraps. But second, butter lettuce often comes with the root attached, so technically
Okay.
it's still alive. And it actually, when it's alive, it packs more nutrients. And so you're
Oh, okay.
eating something that's a little bit healthier than just like your iceberg lettuce, right? Which of
Okay.
all the lettuces, iceberg lettuce has the least amount of nutrition. So if you're gonna eat lettuce, you want to go for the darker lettuce, the leafy lettuce, and that's kind of the lettuce that has the most kind of nutrients in it. So butter
There's
lettuce.
a comment asking, sorry to cut you off, but there's a comment asking that are there any vegetarian substitutes for this?
Yeah, so you can do tofu. Um, I think tofu, paneer, I've never tried, but tofu I have. And tofu is such a good substitute because I feel like and if you're going to do tofu, you don't even need to marinate with the yogurt. You could probably just
Mm-hmm.
mix the yogurt and just do kind of all the other spices. And I think it picks up the spices really nicely. And when you fry it, the tofu gets nice and firm. And so I think that's a really good alternative, and it does taste really good with tofu.
I've honestly never had tofu. I've had paneer, but like I've
Hmm.
never had tofu. Like I've also been scared to try it because I get mixed reviews.
Uh-huh. So tofu, I recently started cooking with tofu a little bit more, mainly because, I've been trying to cut back on my meat intake, although I can't cut it
Mm-hmm.
out completely, but I feel like sometimes I
Yeah.
like sub a little bit. And recently I made tofu, like butter chicken, but with tofu instead. And it turned out really good. Like surprisingly, it actually tastes like paneer when you cook it.
Mm-hmm.
When you put it with like the Desi spices, it tastes exactly like paneer. So I don't cook with paneer too much, but I have cooked with tofu. The trick to tofu though is you have to dry it out a little bit because it's
Okay.
very watery, right? Like it sits in water. So the best thing you can do is take it out of the water, kind of try to pack out all the water because all the water will drain out. Cut it into small pieces. And then what I like to do is I like to just stick it in the oven for like 20, 30 minutes so that it dries out a little
Okay.
bit, and then I like to cook it because that way it'll stay together. Otherwise, it'll just crumble and fall apart.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. Okay, so I am going to start making these wraps. So I have my lettuce. I'm going to put a little bit of chicken in each, and then I'm going to top it with onions, cucumber, and
Mm-hmm.
tomatoes. And then I'm going to put some raita on top. Have you ever made raita before? Because I usually don't make raita. I usually just,
Not on my own, not on my own ever. Like my mom, she makes this green like cilantro chutney.
yeah,
So we just like we don't really eat raita unless like we're at a restaurant or something.
yeah, yeah.
We just eat the chutney at home.
Just have the chutney. Yeah, so I didn't know how to make raita, so I had to ask my mom. I was like, how do you make your raita? Because I've never like made it. I usually just like take some yogurt and like just dollop it on top because I feel like that's like the easy.
Same, same.
But she told me, and so I did make it this time. And she makes it with cumin, mint, and cilantro. So I think it's like the
Oh, okay.
same base really, and then you just add the
Mm-hmm.
yogurt on top. Okay, so I'm gonna add the onions and the tomatoes. Okay.
Your aunt said roast zeta and mint grind and then add.
There we go. I love that my aunt's on here and my mom's on here. I always like whenever I'm gonna do a live, I always like ask my family to join because I feel like I like having them there for moral support. I always get stressed out. Public speaking stresses me out a little bit.
Yeah, same. I just told my cousin join for the first time ever. Like I told her I was gonna do this today, and she was like, "Can I join?" I was like, "Yeah, that's why I told you for the first time ever."
Yes, please. Yes. My cousin also joined because I was just like, I need my people there, mostly to like text me and tell me if I look stupid or something. Okay, and then I'm gonna add the cucumbers. So, lots of veggies, but still very tasty. Um, and then we'll top it off with our raita, which I have right here.
Your aunt is really proud of you.
Oh, well, honestly, it's like I learned this all from them, right? So it's like it's all of my mom and my family's upbringings, So it's like they instill the passion, and then you kind
Yeah.
of cultivate it. All right, and I want to show you our final. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. There we go. Okay,
Oh my God, that looks so good.
and there
Oh
we
my
have
God.
it. So pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Lots of vegetables. You got some fruit with the watermelon shake, and there you go. And we
Yeah,
did
it's pretty healthy and it tastes really good too. So it's like you're gonna be able to eat this for a couple of like days out of the week or whatever.
exactly.
And you're actually gonna enjoy this meal instead of just like, feeling like, oh my God, I'm just eating grass or something like that.
I have a big problem with salad. I know salad is really good for you, but I have a hard time with salad. I like the dressing needs to be just right for me to really enjoy a salad, and so I'm always
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. So I started making my own dressing.
oh
So what I do is I put take like a teaspoon of olive oil or
mhm,
any kind of oil that you like,
mhm.
and then put a little lemon juice. I like it really like tangy and stuff because I love the taste of lemon. And
Yeah.
then I put a bit of tahini and then like, a little bit of chaat masala and
Mhm.
then just like a bit of like hot sauce. And it's so
Oh
good.
my
It's
God,
so good.
you have to share this recipe with me because that sounds delicious.
Yeah, and then I feel like putting things in salads like that you really like matters so much. It's like I started making kale salads because I really like kale, and I think
Mhm.
the trick to kale is you have to massage the dressing in it.
Oh, okay, yeah, because
And that's, yeah, because it
it's
gets soft
very
like
dry.
that.
Yeah, 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 and it's very like coarse and dry
Yeah.
prevent. And so that's very true. You probably do have to massage it because otherwise it's not going to get soft.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I think we both learned something today.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's all I have. Thank you guys for having me and spending this time with me. I really enjoyed it. Um,
Thank you so much for showing these amazing recipes to us.
of course. And, I have so many more recipes on my page. And now that I've kind of adjusted my diet a lot, I'm constantly posting. When I come up with something new, I'll try it a few times and then I'll post it on my page. Just, because if it inspires someone else to eat a little bit more vegetables, eat
Hmm.
a little bit healthier, I'm all for it. So there's definitely more on my page.
Yeah, definitely check out her page. I'm gonna tag you in the IGTV of this.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming on board with us. This was
Of
amazing.
course.
I got to learn so much new information today.
Me too. Me too. It was a good time.
I've been like so happy to have this conversation ever since you were like, I'm an oat milk loving Libra too, and I
Libra.
was like, yes, finally.
Yes, yes, I saw that on your page, and I was like, all right, we're gonna have a fun time.
But yeah, seriously, thank you so much for doing this. It was amazing.
Of course, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
an amazing rest of your day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.